All right. We'll start it off with all due honor to the Most High. I worship thee through the divine image of my wives. Amen. Let's get started. This is the Horseman Law Podcast. I'm Tank, one of your hosts here.
I'm Dorje.
My brother here. So we're going to chop it up. This platform, like I said on Horseman Fan IG, this platform is for those of us who are in the protection business, the brotherhood of protection. And, you know, this is how we have our conversations. These are the conversations that people don't really get to hear because it's either after our client is asleep or after we're off. So this is a unique perspective strictly from those of us in the industry.
Absolutely. And then my position more so, I mean, with Tank being my brother, I watched, you know, the growth from, you know, having the passion for protection and protecting people from the, you know, the first few gigs to the major client, from one major client after the next major client to now, you know, having a accumulated net wealth of protected people over
facts. Talk that shit.
Over $1 billion.
Facts.
Straight up. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. I'm just gonna kind of bounce some questions that, you know, people out there might want to ask. We also gonna open it up, you know, the phone lines for people to call in if you have another question, and just kind of lay out what Horseman Law is, you know, what bodyguards do, what the world is. So my position more is kind of like as a lay person, you know, yet, you know, a loving family member, just kind of having a conversation with my brother. So
absolutely. And I think I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Those of you who have been followers on Horseman Fan know I've been talking about the podcast for a very long time. And a lot of you have been DMing me and calling me, asking for this for a very long time. So those of you who know me and know what it means to be a horseman and know what it means to be in this industry, you know, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the love that's been sent this way. Now, before we really get down and get started, let's make a couple things clear. One, we don't talk about clients on this platform. So if you were tuning in or you thought you were going to get some gossip, or if you thought you were going to get some, you know, secrets being told, you're at the wrong place. We don't do any of that here. So that's on a whole nother level. What we do here is talk about the business from a perspective of those in it and still in it. For those who are BBC, which is the Billionaire Bodyguard Club.
Right.
If you've protected, accumulated more than $1 billion in wealth protected, you know, those are the gentlemen that we're talking about. That's the industry we're talking about. We're talking about people who have been in this industry for years, decades.
And also touching on it, you know, there's spectrums of it, right? So he's talking about the Billionaire Bodyguards Club, which of course he is a member of, and arguably Horseman, you know, the Horseman camp is at the top of, really arguably. But then also, you know, everyone that you know has that honorable, you know, endeavor to protect, you know, so it's like it's inclusive as well. But he's going to be speaking from a standpoint that very, very few people have the experiences to speak from.
Absolutely. So. And to even get into it, you really got to go back, right? Like my mentor, the guy who taught me what everything that I know, is still in the business and still doing very well in the business, still has me in the business, still has others in the business. So when you go back and you start to think about how I started, if I started 16 years ago and he's still active and he taught me everything he knows, you're talking about somebody that's been in the game for almost 25, 30 years.
Right.
In protection, protecting people at the highest levels. So if I'm at over $1 billion worth of wealth protected, imagine where he is right now.
Right.
Right. And still going. So everything I know, I learned from him. And therefore, everything that I'm teaching or everything that I'm giving is from his perspective. So we always got to shine light on that. Killer J.
Absolutely.
You understand? My boss, my mentor, the brother who brought me into Horseman.
Right.
So all due respect to him and honor to the business. So when we talk about the Billionaire Bodyguard Club, right, we're talking about guys who have been responsible for the wealth of billionaires or accumulated enough wealth for millionaires to get to $1 billion worth protected. Right. So we're not talking about, respectfully, we're not talking about guys who did one-offs. We're not talking about guys who maybe did security at the club or anything like that. No disrespect to them. I think that's I worked in clubs. I started in clubs. Sure. There's nothing against that. But we're talking about guys who have been over a 24-hour period.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Been responsible for the wealth of a client over an extended period of time.
Like 3 times minimum. Not like you got called in for one gig, protecting somebody that's worth $400 million. So now you put $400 million under your, value protected side. It's like a minimum of
my brother, appreciate you.
Word.
So I was just talking to the engineer for those who didn't hear, but exactly what you're saying is important. It's important for people to understand that we're not being disrespectful to those who might do one-offs or anything. It's a place where you can start. It's a starting line.
Yes.
But we're just showing the difference between the start and the top. Not to say that I'm at the pinnacle, not to say that I'm at the top of that pyramid.
He's up in there. I will say that.
Right.
I mean, and keep in mind too, there's things that he probably won't say because he actually is a very honorable, humble person with a lot of integrity, and he approaches his work, with a lot of honor and integrity. So there's not a bunch of bragging, and there's not a lot of that. But then also being his brother and watching, from, if you look at it as levels, right? Watching him as a beginner going to intermediate, going to expert, going to master. Like really, I would say that, those are the levels in it, right? So,
Absolutely.
Even if you look at it like a martial art, a white belt is really, from an integrity standpoint, no different than a black belt, but a black belt knows and has more experiences in that particular art form. So, he would definitely in the art form of bodyguarding be a black belt. Him and other horsemen and, other people that would sit at the table of the BBC, as far as their experiences and, just time in the game and, in those scenarios.
And absolutely, when we're talking about the BBC and that table, it's important that you said that, being at that table. Now, that table is you can do the research on your own.
Right.
We're not here just saying, I'm BBC and I'm this and I'm that and no, you can prove your net worth. You can prove how much net worth you've been responsible for. I mean, especially with guys like Killer J and myself, you can actually go online and chart the artists that we've been with.
Facts.
You can chart the times we've been with them and whether or not they were at the heights of their careers, where they were in their careers, and you can find the net worths of these artists and do the numbers yourself.
Right.
We're not giving you numbers that you can't verify on your own. You can go off and verify these numbers on your own. So everything that we say on this program, everything we say, on this platform, it's verifiable.
Absolutely.
There will be no rumors or hearsay spoke on this program, not for me.
Right.
So it's important that those of you who are out there talking about getting into the business or wanting to get into the business, that you think about where you could end up and where you could be rather than focusing on the negative aspects of the business. And we'll talk about that too.
Absolutely.
I think, earlier I spoke about, people telling people secrets and people gossiping in this industry. it's important that people understand that there's a code and a brotherhood to Horseman and to the Brotherhood of Protection. There's a code, there's an honor that we live by. I refuse to speak about a client's personal business. I refuse to speak about what I've seen, not because I have some intimate relationship with the client or intimate relationship with somebody. I refuse to do that because it goes against my own moral code.
Right.
See, that's the difference. You have to have a moral code in this industry, and that's what's going to divide you between other people and Horsemen. Horsemen have an honorable moral code when it comes to dealing with clients. Now, that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes and we don't do things that are considered wrong. No, what it means is we stick to our moral code.
Right.
Right? So we're not following somebody else's moral code. It is ours, and it's important to us.
Right. And it operates with a high level of integrity as well. And touching on something that you said earlier as far as anything that's being said being verifiable, also know that on top of it being verified, in the discussion, it's already been pre-verified. So we're not just coming off the cuff and saying something and throwing something out that we haven't thought about to share with you. Mm-hmm. So it's already been pre-verified prior to even getting to this platform, but absolutely everything that we say because of that is verifiable, Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been on YouTube or some other platform, and they have these top 10 lists of top 10 lists of this and top 10 lists of that.
Right.
We've been on so many of those top 10 lists, but you never really know what you don't really know. They don't even know who they're talking about.
Of course.
Right. They don't know the organization they're talking about.
Right.
They don't know the people they're talking about. They're basically just pulling information off the internet and basically just adding your name to it. Right.
Right.
I've got so many names in the industry. It's ridiculous. So many people know me from so many different places and spaces that is hard to verify. And I think it's important now to do that. And this is why I created the platform. This is why I'm doing this, because we've been getting a bad name and a bad rap. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people like Charlemagne the God or, other media pundits basically refer to black security as like inferior.
Absolutely. The whole goon
businessmen,
mentality.
Right. Goons.
Right.
Thugs.
Right.
Knuckleheads, whatever you want to call it. And I've actually heard these guys refer to protection as white guys in suits. So anytime you say, well, you should get some real protection, you should get a white guy in a suit.
Right.
You basically just shitted on the decade plus of work I've done, the 2 decades of work that Killer J has done, by basically saying the only real protection you can get is a white man in a suit.
That's just the manifestation of the internal racism, too. When you look at it like, okay, so now we know that this issue of white supremacy, it's a global phenomenon.
Absolutely.
Right. So then that's just an example of that leaking even into the protection industry. Oh, absolutely. No, the real bodyguards are white and have an earpiece and, come on.
And to us, it's funny because to us, they're scarecrows. We call them scarecrows, right? Because you'll see an artist or you'll see somebody bring in this white guy in a suit. He's got the earpiece and he's got a lapel pin. Right. So the idea is that for all these people from the hood to look at this white guy and be like, oh shit, he must be Secret Service.
Right.
He must be FBI.
Right.
He must have somebody who's really serious. In reality, they're like, nah, man, I know this guy isn't Secret Service once because he's working for you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody that's Secret Service is not working for you.
Right.
So that's an obvious ploy. And the ultimate idea is that, okay, well, this guy is armed. Let me tell you something. when it comes down to New Orleans, when it comes down to New York, when it comes down to Miami, when it comes down to Atlanta, everybody has a gun.
Right.
You understand? So it's not a question of whether or not somebody has it or somebody doesn't. Assume everybody has a gun.
Absolutely.
So whether or not you've got a white man, and nothing against white folks, nothing against a lot of white men in the business. I know of a lot of very good white men in this business who show respect to those who have been here for a while, those who have been here for a long time. I've trained a few of them. Jay Kane has trained, Killer J has trained more than a few of them. So there's a lot of guys out there that we love and respect, but for the most part, just because you have a white guy in a suit does not mean you're protected.
Right.
Nobody's afraid of him. Nobody is going to be afraid of him just because he's a white guy in a suit. That's not going to work in these places.
Yes.
You know, when you start talking about things like All-Star Weekend LA, All-Star Weekend New York City, All-Star Weekend New Orleans, let me tell you something. I don't care who you with. If you don't have people with you that know what they're doing, you are food out here.
Absolutely.
You're a food out here, and you will be victimized. There's not a question about it. Those of you who do know, and those of you who are in the know that.
Right.
Athletes, entertainers, hip hop artists, you name it, have been victimized out here because they thought, as long as I got this white guy in a suit, that people are going to back up and not victimize me. They will victimize you with that guy.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important to point out, like you touched on hip hop, entertainment, athletes, right? So when you look at that, that is a black, driven phenomena. Hip hop is you know what I'm saying? So it's like going into these places, you actually have to kind of be of the space to even blend into that arena.
That's so important because I am a specialist in I've been trained in hip hop, sports, and entertainment. That's my specialty. I've worked government. I've worked, corporate. But my specialty is hip hop, sports, and entertainment. Now, I give respect to those who are in government.
Right, different sectors.
They should be respected as those who, that's their specialty.
Right.
So if I work under somebody who's in government or somebody who's in military or whatever their special field is, I'm going to look to them to get my guidance.
Without a doubt.
Right. The sad part about hip hop and sports entertainment, you bring in guys from law enforcement. You bring in guys from military. You bring in guys from government and corporate. They don't look to us for guidance.
Right.
They think because they've been in law enforcement and government and military that they have all the skills necessary to do what we do. And it always ends badly.
Absolutely.
It always ends bad. It always ends badly.
Yeah.
Our skill and our ability to thrive in this field is based on reputation.
Yep.
It's based on relationships, and it's based on awareness, right? Now, the awareness comes from experience. The awareness comes from being in this life, growing up around the streets,
right?
Growing up with these people, knowing these types of people. That's where your experience, and your awareness comes from.
And relatability. When somebody can look at you and be like, oh, he looked like my uncle. Oh, he looked like my homeboy. Whatever.
Absolutely.
There's relatability that automatically gives a certain level of relax.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And not only that, it's like we talked about off air. It's not being afraid of your own people.
Right. That's huge.
You see what I'm saying?
That's huge.
It's not being afraid of your own people and not being afraid to talk to your own people.
Right.
Afraid to introduce yourself to your own people. I mean, those are some of the things that really make us better than most.
Talk about, because this concept to me is absolutely genius, brilliant. This notion of verbal judo, right? Because, being a martial artist, coming up, I understand that martial arts is a preparedness for a type of danger, right? So you have a certain level of relaxation more so than anger. Anger is actually your enemy in any type of combat if you're approaching it from a martial arts standpoint. So as someone who protects people professionally, to take this notion of a martial arts like judo and then to translate it into the verbal realm as explained, please talk about that, because when you talk about it, it's just amazing. It's an amazing concept.
It's really the ability to talk people out of a mindset that they've already preordained their mindset. They've already had a set idea or perspective of you and what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's the ability to change that perspective. It's the ability to change the way they're thinking about you
right
at the moment.
Right.
That's what verbal judo is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to change aggression, right, into something else.
Logic.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's ability to disarm someone, disarm them from their want to affect you negatively.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You can be in a club with somebody who's worth millions and millions of dollars, right? Your job is to protect that person that's worth millions and millions of dollars. This other guy on the other side of the club is whatever envy, jealousy, whatever the case may be.
Drunkenness,
whatever, women.
Argument with his woman. Right.
He wants to be seen and he wants to be acknowledged by that guy worth millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
They just want acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. Right. So I give you this scenario. The scenario is, okay, you're in the club with a client that's worth millions and millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Right. He's got all the girls. He's got all the bottles. He's got all the fanfare.
Right. DJ shouting him out.
Yeah. Everybody sees him. Everybody knows him.
Right.
Right. There's a group of gentlemen on the other side of the club. They have no acknowledgement. They have no tables. They have no girls. Mm-hmm. But you see them staring at you at the table, right? Or staring at your client, more importantly, at the table.
Right.
What do? I've been taught what you do is introduce yourself to those guys at that table, right? Mm-hmm. Let them know who you are and what you're there for, right?
Right.
9 out of 10 times, those people at that table just want to be acknowledged by you.
Right. Now you've turned a potential conflict
exactly.
into now they got your back. They feel like they're part of the team.
Now understand something. We're getting the bottles for free. We're not buying the bottles.
Right.
The club are supplying the bottles.
Right.
So, cool. Why not take a bottle? They don't have any liquor over there. Hey, listen, I'm such and such. I'm over here. I'm responsible for him. You know what I'm saying? Y'all make sure we good. Here's a bottle.
Right.
Not only did you just turn those group of men into allies, they gonna make sure you get out of there tonight.
Right.
They gonna make sure you come out of there untouched.
Right.
They gonna make sure that you look the best you can look in front of this guy. You understand? And that's what you want. That's the key to verbal judo. The key to verbal judo is changing a person's mindset about you in the moment.
Right.
In the moment.
Right.
And when you can do that, that's how you win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then this delicate balance of the logic, yet the intimidation, right? Because you're still benching 500 pounds and they know they still, the physicality of you is still, they're still confronted with that.
Right.
So now when you mix that with if it came down to it, I could get down. But I'm going to talk to you and like you said, make that person your ally. Exactly. Because now it's like, ooh, I'm down with the big intimidating person in the, so I mean, that's like brilliant.
And understanding the fact that Gone are the days. There used to be a period. There used to be a time period. When I first started in the business, I mean, we were fighting every night. You know, whatever, you know, stuff we're not gonna talk about. But we that was on a daily basis. That was kind of like how we rated our abilities, was walking into these war zones and walking out alive. That was the way we came about it. But this is a different time. This is a time. This is a time when you could fight, and this is a time when you could, you know, get punched, and you know, those days are over.
Right.
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 Everything nowadays is gunplay. Everything nowadays is gunplay. So today, our most important weapon is our minds.
Right.
Right. The physical aspect of it doesn't really come into play anymore.
Right.
Right. Because it doesn't matter. The smallest man can pull a trigger. The biggest man can pull a trigger.
That's real.
So being big, being able to fight, all those things, there was a time where that was important. There was a time where that was one of your biggest assets. Nowadays, our biggest assets is our minds and our awareness and our ability to think our ways out of situations with the client still being alive.
That's so important to talk on too,
Right.
Because that speaks to that whole goon. You know, like they're not. There's no intelligent thought behind the notion of bodyguarding. Whereas what you're saying, basically, the physicality is the lesser of the aspect because everybody's armed. You don't need to be big to shoot somebody big.
At all.
You just need to be smart. So it's like this whole notion of smarter, not harder, right? You hear people say smarter, not harder, but they never really apply that to the world of bodyguarding. So I think it's real important that you touched on that, you know, bodyguards are extremely intelligent people in the environment that they've been placed in.
Some of the most intelligent people I've ever met are bodyguards. Some of the most intelligent people I've ever met are people in the protection industries, BOPs. Now, understand something. Don't get me wrong. We have to be very skilled at violence, right?
Force.
Have to be.
Yeah.
Somebody once told me, or I once read, that the only way to deter violent men is to hire more men better at violence. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not a question of what
The ability to become violent.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a question of what we're capable of. It's just a question of using those circumstances and what circumstances are worthy
Absolutely.
of that type of violence.
Absolutely.
Right. So every horseman active is capable of extreme violence. It is a necessary requirement to do what we do. But every horseman is so unwilling to go to that level unless they absolutely have to.
Right.
So they would utilize so many so high of a level of intelligence to get themselves out of having to go there than they would be going there.
Right.
Right? The prisons are full of bodyguards. That's kind of a thing we always say.
Right.
The prisons are full of bodyguards on so many levels. Whether you in the streets, whether you you know, domestic, whatever the situation may be, you know, the prisons are full of people who lost their wits and became violent in situations where they could have thought their way out of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you ever see a horseman in prison, that means he put himself there. You understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
If I'm going to go to prison, if I'm going to be stripped of my freedom, it's going to be on my sword, right? It's going to be on my shield, right? Every Viking had Valhalla, right? Spartans had honorable death, beautiful death.
Right.
The samurai would kill themselves rather than lose a client. So we have that same mentality. But if we're going to go there, if it's going to be something like that, it's going to be worth it.
Right.
It's not going to be over a bottle of liquor. It's not going to be over,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, altercation in a club.
Right. It's not going to be over a piece of ass.
Right.
It's going to be, you know, something worthy of that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
And I think it's
important to say.
It's important
to say
because you got a lot of guys who are out here in this industry who don't think like that.
Right.
Right. So you have a lot of young men, and I'll call them young men, who have not taken the oaths, who are not properly trained.
Right.
And who don't live by that kind of code, who are out here calling themselves protectors.
Right.
And being responsible for people worth a lot of money. Right. So you're talking about being in situations where, you know, the person you're with can feed entire communities, right? That's an important distinction because we're in the days and times where the gap between the wealthy, the gap between the impoverished, is very wide. You know, you're either a rich man or a poor man,
right?
And people get poor enough, they'll get desperate. Right. And whether or not, you know, people want to acknowledge it or not, your ability to maintain your wealth is going to be your ability to hire the right people very soon. Very soon, the rich will not be rich unless they can afford proper protection. And when you get to that level, you want to be trained and you want to be good, because if not, you'll be food. And these people will eat you. And they'll take from you and from your client whatever they want. Right. So, I mean, that's why I think this platform is important. I mean, you have to be able to verify. You have to be able to check the records of these people. You know, if you're an artist, if you're somebody of means, and you want to hire protection, where do you go to find out?
That's a great question.
Where do you go to find out who you should hire, who you shouldn't hire, who's reputable, who's not? There's nowhere to go. Right. So what do? You end up taking your chances on somebody who said they used to be a cop. Right? Nothing against cops that work in the industry, but if you're an active duty cop and you're active police and you're working in my industry doing what I do, understand that I understand that the best witness on the witness stand is law enforcement. Right. Active law enforcement. Yes. Right? You're not, and nobody who's active law enforcement is going to throw away their pension on a hip hop artist or sports athlete. It's just not going to happen. So you need to know, as an artist, as an athlete, as a potential client, you need to know what pitfalls. I'm trying to be very careful about what I'm saying. Sure. What pitfalls to avoid and what things to avoid. And what we're doing here on this platform is trying to provide you that information. Absolutely. Right. I'm not saying that every bodyguard in the industry that isn't a horseman isn't good. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is a tier, there is levels, and you should check those levels out before you go about hiring people in this business without any verification. Absolutely. And when you think about approaching this business professionally, I feel, just from, like I said, the layperson witnessing, if someone's going to teach you the game, right? You want that person, that instructor, to not only be masterful, but to have a high level of honor, integrity, all of the things that actually make a person a good person. And, based on my experience and witnessing, that is absolutely an aspect of Horseman. So it's like the honor is hardwired in the title. The honor is hardwired in the title. So I think that's, anyone aspiring, to, achieve these levels of greatness, seek them out, man, in a way that, from a tutelage standpoint, you have somebody that's legit, that's not only going to get your body right and give you the experience and the things that you need to be effective in your
job, but they're going to get your mind right. You know, if anything, like all of these conversations, I feel like, you know, a strong point that you're driving home is that it's your mind. Your mind is the weapon, right?
Absolutely.
So to then have an instructor that is sharpening your mind in these scenarios, I feel like that's a priceless asset.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many situations I've seen Killer J actually think us out of. I mean, situations where we're outnumbered, situations where, you know, people want to do us harm, and people want to, you know, take from us our honor and take from us our reputation. And I've seen out of sheer intelligence.
Right.
Intelligence. I mean, there's no physical way we should get out of these situations, but we get out of them with intelligence. You see what I'm saying? And it's all matter of things of what you talk about. Like, I give you this jewel. When you work in group protection,
right,
that means you got one or more bodyguards, right?
Right.
When you work in group protection, and I'm gonna give you guys this for free. Those of you who are out there, outside of this, you're gonna have to try to pay some money to get some of this knowledge, because
absolutely
we can't just give it all for free. But
there's gonna be a cheat sheet available.
Understand?
That's a whole nother.
When you work with one or more different bodyguards, we created the idea that second bodyguard's responsibility is the first. That third bodyguard, his responsibility is the second. That fourth bodyguard, his responsibility is the third. You understand? Everybody can't focus on the priority. Everybody can't focus on the main client, right? Mm-hmm. Because in that situation, you guys all end up tripping over your feet,
right?
Tripping over each other.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, trying to get close to the client.
Too many chiefs.
Right, trying to get close to the client.
Yeah, right.
You stumble over your feet.
Right.
But if your focus is watching the back of the man in front of you, your client will be the most protected over everybody else. Mm. If Killer J is focused on the client, mm-hmm. I ain't got to worry about the client. You understand? I ain't got to worry about him.
Right.
I got to worry about Killer J.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Killer J is your client.
That's my client.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you go on these gigs, a guy calls and says, you know, I need a hand, I need some help, I need you to come out and assist me. Your job ain't to go out there and protect the client. Your job isn't to go out there and try to out bodyguard the guy who put you on.
Right.
No, your job is to protect the guy that put you on. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's the importance, and that's why we work so well, and that's why when clients hire Horseman, they never have to worry about another guy coming in and trying to steal the gig, or another guy coming in, you know, trying to get close. No, he's already built that relationship with that client.
Right.
He's already close to that. That's not your job to come in here and try to get close to the client.
Right.
He already knows what the client likes. He already knows what to do, what not to do. Mm-hmm. He already knows where to be, where not to be. Your job is to listen to the guy who brought you and have him show you where to go, where not to go, how you can protect him.
Yes.
So he can be the best him to the client he can be. And that's one of the keys to our success. Anytime I came onto a gig, and I came on through the periods where I wasn't the number one guy.
Right.
I wasn't the number two guy. Mm-hmm. I was the number 7th guy. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
If you go back and do some of the research, we don't talk about clients here, but if you go back and do some of the research and you look back to where we started and how we started, you know, I was the last guy. There was periods where I was the last guy on the totem pole. You know, my job wasn't to be nowhere near the client. My job is to be checking the gas in the cars. My job is to be checking the drivers. Mm-hmm. My job is to be checking the front yard and checking the backyard.
Right.
I never made it in at some periods when I first started into the client.
Yeah.
I never spoke to the client. Client never spoke to me, right? Because you understand your position ain't to be speaking to the client.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I've seen many a bodyguard get his ass whooped talking to other men's clients. You don't talk to another man's client. That man, he done put in 10 years. He done put in 5 years with that man. He done put in all this time with that man, getting protection to the way he wanted it. And here you come disrupting everything with some yes-a boss shit.
Right.
We don't do that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes. Order.
Yes. Order.
Yes.
For years, clients would talk to me and I refused to talk to them. Yeah, don't ask me. Talk to who such and such.
Right.
No. It's not my job. Talk to such and such. I'm not here for that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because to a client, you're just an employee. You're just another man in the field. Mm-hmm. So it's the hierarchy is between us.
Right.
The hierarchy is in our world.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. Client is a different world.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. You either a client or a potential client, or you're a civilian, mm-hmm. or you're a part of the brotherhood.
Right.
Right? So in those situations, I treat everybody in those categories. I'm trained to see people in those categories.
Right.
Right? I'm not trained to see people outside of those categories. When people start talking gangsters, thugs, whatever, I don't even understand that language. You either a civilian, you either a client,
right.
potential client,
right.
or a threat. You either in those categories.
Yes.
I don't see you in any other normal worldly categories because I don't live in that world. I've been trained not to live in that world.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So
to simplify the world
in order to control it.
Exactly.
Right? So it's important that guys learn and guys understand the lifestyle that comes with it. You spoke about diet. You spoke about training. Mm-hmm. You spoke about lifestyle.
Right.
Horsemen pride themselves on being separate. Mm. Separation is the key to a horseman, to be separate from everybody else. We are the outliners. We are the outsiders. Mm-hmm. We are the guys outside. We are the guys in the car. We are the guys at the door. We are the guys who are outside of the inner sanctum of clients and artists. Now, that doesn't mean there's not exceptions. There are exceptions. Right. I do have a handful of clients, honorable men, that I am closer to. We are relaxed a little bit. Mm-hmm. But even then, there's still I want to make it clear that I'm outside. You see what I'm saying? Right. I can only protect you from the outside.
Exactly.
I can't protect you from the inside. Your friend.
Exactly. Not, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I can't protect you as good as I would be able to from inside. I can only protect you from the outside.
Right.
So that means when everybody's going right, I'm going left. When everybody's going left, I'm going right. Mm-hmm. That way I could protect you from, things you may not see. I see them.
Yes.
Right. So we don't eat with other clients. We don't drink. We don't fornicate with, the women that are around. That's not our thing. We don't partake.
Yes.
Right. So that's the difference between us and others. Right. I'll just say others. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. We might call them the chicken and beer dude. First of all, you can't pay me with chicken and beer. So therefore, I'm not going to be.
You're not in that category.
I'm not in that category.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that the dudes who are, a part of the in crowd or a part of the entourage or whatever you want to call it, that they're any less than I am.
Right.
Like I said before, our moral code and the things that we live by and the values that we live by are unique to us because they're ours.
Right.
They're
unique.
They're not
Absolutely.
determined by the client.
Right.
Right? This isn't an employee handbook. Right?
Yes.
This isn't, okay, well, you're my employee, so I need you to do this, and that. That's not what this is.
Right.
These are rules that we live by because of us.
Exactly.
Right? Don't have nothing to do with the client. Whether it was one client or the next guy or the next guy or the next guy, we'll be living by the same rules when it comes to this business, regardless of who it is. It could be somebody worth $1 million. It could be somebody worth 1,000.
Right.
As long as they can pay the requirement, as long as they can pay the required fees, they will get the same level of horseman. So that's important.
So important. That goes back to that integrity again, because in essence, the client is buying that. Instead of it being an employee, handbook where you will do this, you will do that, they're looking and saying, hey, I like the way these guys move. I like their track record. I like their reputation. So I'm going to get in where I fit in as a client to find out, like, hey, what do I need to do to work with you guys?
Right.
As opposed to you guys need to do this to work with me. I think
Absolutely.
that is a branding. That's absolutely a branding kind of, from a business standpoint, that's exactly what you want. It's like,
Absolutely.
you know what you're getting when you open up a bottle of Coke. A bottle of Coke is not Sprite.
Right.
When you drink it, you know that's Coke.
Absolutely.
You wanted that, so you went to get the Coke instead of the Sprite.
Absolutely.
So it's like Horseman, it's like, our brand. This is how we move.
And that's important that you said that, because and that's where we that's where we have problems.
Right.
Because people are starting to take that brand. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And manufacture it. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you can't knock off.
Yeah.
You can't be with a horseman and say, well, we don't necessarily need that level of protection. We don't necessarily need that. We'll manufacture it. We'll get a couple guys, put them in, horseman attire. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We'll masquerade
costumes.
them. Right.
Yeah.
We'll masquerade them as horsemen, and people won't know the difference.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you might get away with that for a while. You might get away with that for a while.
Right.
But like Killer J always said, though, at some point, you're gonna have to take off your shirt.
Right.
At some point, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You can pretend to be big. You can pretend to be strong.
Somebody gonna call you. It's gonna be a call.
At some point, somebody's gonna tell you you're gonna have to take that shirt off.
Right.
And when you take that shirt off, the truth will be exposed, and you either gonna be good at what you do or you not.
That's real.
Simple as that. So you can pretend, or you can masquerade to be horseman. You can pretend to be a part of the code. You can pretend to be a part of the brotherhood. But if you don't live by these standards, if you don't live by these codes, it will be exposed at some point at some time. Now, I know cats that have been doing it for years and years and years and got away with it.
Right.
It's not my job to call you out.
Right.
It's not my job to expose you. You will expose yourself.
Right.
All I have to do is continue to lead by excellence.
Exactly.
And
Lead
follow it.
by excellence.
And follow it. You see, you follow excellence. If you follow excellence, you become excellent.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? If you follow shit, you become shit.
Right.
So, and you'll leave that trail behind you. People will be able to smell it. People will be able to see it.
Yep.
If you're excellent and you're excellent at what you do, whether or not you tell somebody, they see it.
That's right.
Right? They feel it.
Exactly.
It's a presence. Right? It's an energy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If a client's being truthful, he'll tell you walking into a room with a horseman is unlike walking into a room with anybody else. If they're being honest.
Right.
If they're being honest. I ain't gonna sit here and try to tell you, Tank's been cool. I've been fired from every other client that I've been with. I've been fired from, not because I've lacked the skill, because whatever I was asked to do went against my moral code, right? And if they're being honest, they'll tell you that. So I'm not going to tell you that every client loves me or loves Horseman or
right, even loves honor or excellence.
Yeah, exactly.
They might want somebody that fits the reputation of a goon.
Absolutely.
Go beat this dude up for me or
whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So
exactly.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you go and scream Horseman's name to every client that they'll shower us with, compliments. Not saying that.
Right.
You might run into some people who would tell you we ain't shit.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research. For every client that you might run to and say, well, Horseman ain't shit. Do your research. How much he worth? How much he worth? What has he done? Where's he been? Or better yet, when you were in trouble, who'd you call? Right? When this other guy's in trouble, who did he call? That's how you find out who we are.
Right.
That's how you find out what our reputations are.
I remember a situation where, I mean, I'm not going to say no names because we're not saying names, but situationally, you told me of a scenario where y'all were called to help a bodyguard, right? You were like, if you have to call a horseman to protect your bodyguard,
I can either confirm or deny. I can either confirm or deny that happened. If your bodyguard is calling another bodyguard for help, you've got the wrong bodyguard.
You've got the wrong bodyguard.
There's no denying.
There's no denying.
There's no denying.
That's a horseman law, right?
That's a horseman law. Yeah. If your bodyguard is calling another bodyguard for help, you've got the wrong bodyguard. You can't go back and forth with that. There's no way to go from that.
There's nowhere to go from that.
It's us or it's over.
Right.
Simple as that. It's us or it's over.
Right.
We're not calling anybody. We're not calling, if we're not calling a horseman, we're not calling anybody.
Right.
Then you go out on your shield. Simple as that.
That's real.
Now, ultimately, you get into a situation like that, you fucked up so many times that you've already failed. Right. Right. There's so many levels of mistakes that you've already made that
Absolutely.
you're in that situation.
Yes.
To where,
yes,
it's over. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So the goal with us is to avoid those situations. The goal with us is to not be in those situations.
Absolutely. And I think that really, when you think about it, that is how clientele is naturally sorted out, right? So higher clientele, they don't want the antics.
Nah.
They don't want somebody that's going to go beat somebody up or do so. That's not what they want. They want professionals. So that automatically, when you tell the other one, nah, that's not what we do, there's going to be other ones to be like, oh, hell yeah, I'll do that. Well, that establishes that level of clientele.
A real client, an honorable man, understands your refusal to do certain things.
Right.
It's in protection of him.
Absolutely.
Right? I understand you're upset. I understand whatever you're going through. Mm-hmm. But if I do that, what happens to you after?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not about me.
Right.
Right?
That's that verbal judo right there too, is to get their head right. Like, no, this is going to come back on you.
Exactly. And don't pull that emergency lever if it's not an emergency.
Right.
That's something you want to use when you really need it.
Yes.
Just because you're upset or just because you're mad at that point, it's not the time to use it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not the time to use and pull that, because you will be held responsible for it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's no getting out of it.
Right.
There's no when the smoke is clear.
Unpull the lever.
Can't unpull it.
Yeah.
Once it's pulled, it's pulled.
It's pulled.
And once it's over, you're going to be held responsible just like that guy is going to be held responsible.
Right. So
it's important that everybody be level-headed. It's important that you be level-headed. It's important that a horseman be level-headed. It's important that a person in position of protection to be level-headed, right? Your job is to be clear-minded and ready.
Yes.
That's what your job is, to be clear-minded and ready for whatever happens.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. The client can drink, smoke, chill, play, hang, whatever he wants to do. That's what he's paying for.
Right.
He's paying for the ability to do what he wants,
right,
and to be protected doing it.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of people in the industry who think they're living vicariously through the client. That's the worst thing you can do. right? I remember talking to guys and they'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm going on vacation to Jamaica. You're a bodyguard. You're working with a client. You're not going on vacation.
You're going to
You're
work.
going to work. You're going to protect the man
while he's on
vacation in
right.
Jamaica. That's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So, or the whole thing. I'm flying on private jets. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're on a private jet accompanying your client
flying on
a private jet.
Right.
So you have to be clear about that.
That's a huge distinction, right? It's kind of that, the glass is half full, half empty, but the awareness factor of it, right? When you say it like that, it automatically ties in the awareness of what your duty is.
Absolutely.
Right? The other way is void of your duty. You going on vacation in Jamaica. That doesn't highlight your duty.
The duty.
Actually, you're slipping by even saying that.
Absolutely.
The other way is like, I understand my duty and my responsibility. Now, if within that, there's some moments that are vacation-like, because there's nothing going on. Okay, well, that's a different story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. And it's like, it's a mindset thing.
Yes.
Understand your mind and your body responds to how you think. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're in a position where your responsibility is the protection of your client and others, and you relax your mind by saying, I'm going on vacation.
Yes.
What have you just done to your awareness?
Absolutely.
What have you just done to your being prepared, your preparedness? What have you just done? You've relaxed your entire mindset.
Absolutely.
By thinking before you even got there that you were on vacation.
Facts.
Now, someone like me or someone like my mentor who's been all over the world, I'm going to tell you right now, depending on the level of wealth you're protecting, you are never on vacation when you're with that person, right? Mm-hmm. Regardless of where you go. I don't care if it's Australia. I don't care if it's the Netherlands.
Right.
I don't care where you go.
Yeah.
You are always on.
Yep.
You better always be on point.
Exactly.
Right? There's a hood everywhere.
Yes.
Right? And there's starving people everywhere.
Right.
And to those people, your client is food everywhere.
Absolutely. And the higher the net worth of the client, the more potentially sophisticated the attack could be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you're talking about Colombia. You're talking about Africa. You're talking about where if these people got their hands on your client, it is the biggest payday they've ever seen in life.
Right.
Well, what are you going to do?
Right.
You pay them. That's it. You pay them.
Right.
You pay them. They get their hands on somebody that's world famous, that's worth millions and millions of dollars, and they get their hands on them. You pay them. They get paid. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what stories they tell you. If in these foreign countries they get their hands on somebody famous and wealthy, they get paid.
Right.
Whether you know it or not, whether it gets advertised, whether the public knows it or not, they get paid. So regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing, you are always on in this business.
Right.
Right. And I've been everywhere. I've been to France. I've been to England. I've been, Africa. I've been to the Netherlands. I've been Australia. It's always a potential. Mm-hmm. You can't relax in any of these places. There's no zip code that allows you to relax.
Right.
There's no such thing as a relaxed zip code.
Right.
So everywhere you go, you're on.
Yes.
And that's important for people to understand. And yes, the higher level of wealth determines the threat level.
Yes.
That's true. Mm-hmm. But still, in these days, the wealth gap is so crazy that, if people know you're internet wealthy,
right?
If people know you're IG wealthy,
that's it,
right?
That you have something.
If you have something that they can take,
yeah,
your threat is almost as high, if not as high, as somebody worth 100, 300 million, even close to $1 billion. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody that's out there right now, Horseman fan, if you see the phone lines, you want to call in, you got some stories to tell, hey, call in, man.
Or questions to ask. This man is absolutely a wealth of knowledge. So, call in, get some answers.
This is the first episode, so, it'll be evolving and it'll be getting better and better. But, yeah, definitely call in. And if you're a civilian, man, and you're upset and whatever, call in too.
Right.
I'm not afraid.
Right.
I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. So if you're a civilian, if you're upset and you think a horseman did something to you or whatever the case, call in, man. Call in. Tell us your story. Tell us what happened to you.
Tell us how you got beat up.
Not even that.
No.
Not even that. Let me tell you something. Horsemen are probably some of the greatest dissers. Some of the greatest baggers on earth, man. We would actually tear people apart talking about them because we couldn't beat them up.
Right.
So if you couldn't beat them up,
you
just talk shit.
Right.
I mean, some of the worst things imaginable you could say to a human being has been said. So I know there's a few of you out there like, yo, this motherfucker talked about my mama, talked about my daddy. Yeah, we do all that.
Right.
Anything to keep from putting hands on you so we don't get sued, we'll do. So, we've had good times talking about people, deservingly so. But yeah, that's another skill. Talking about people is another skill that we maintain. We sharpen our minds on the backs of these people all the time. So if that happened to you, call in, tell us about it. It's all good.
Word.
It's all good. I mean, back when we first started, or back when I first started, let me stop saying we.
Right.
Okay, bet. Back when we first started.
725-205-9001.
Yeah, say that number again.
725-205-9001.
Yeah, so if you want to call in, that's the number.
That's the number.
Call in, say what's up. It's all good. Any of my brothers out there, any of the brothers of protection, horsemen out there, if you're listening, call in, man. Holla at us. Or send me a text or something. Tell me you want to call in or whatever. We'll work it out. It's all good. But back what I was saying, like when I first started, I didn't get paid back when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do this. Well, let me go back. I started off as a fighter. You know this.
Oh my God! Yes, just destroying people.
Right. So I started off fighting underground here in Vegas, and a guy happened to see me and referred me to some people, and that began the career as I know it now. So back when we first started, the idea that you would have to fight to earn your stripes was huge, right? Everybody had to fight. I remember, I'll tell this story, this is a good one. I remember when Killer J was like, look, I want you to come to DC, right? Mm-hmm. He ran all the nightclubs.
Right.
All the nightclubs in DC. Okay, cool. He's like, yo, I want you to come out here. You know what I mean? We gonna go off with another client, but I want you to come out here first. Just work out with the boys or whatever. So I'm like, cool, all right, go to DC, do a little nightclub. I've been working nightclubs since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that forever.
Exactly.
That means nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So, all right, cool. I go out to DC. So I go out to DC, land, hop in the car, we go eat, of course, and go to the club.
Yeah.
So we go to the club. I mean, I was at the club maybe 10 minutes before we were fighting everybody in the club.
Well, how did it pop off?
I mean, simply because there was a rapper, right?
Uh-huh.
And, I'm following my mentor. I'm following him.
Yeah.
Wherever he go, I go.
Right.
Whatever he get into, I get into.
Yes.
Right? And he's working for the owner. So we're protecting the VIP section. Mm-hmm. In the VIP section, there's other artists who are known artists. They're in the VIP section. We're blocking the door, keeping people out of that section.
Right.
Right? So we're blocking the door. This guy, him with about, 6, 7 other dudes, wants to get into the VIP section.
Right.
Nah. You're not on the list.
It's not happening.
You ain't been escorted. It's a wrap.
Right.
You're not going in there.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I know this and that and this, that, and the other. Cool. They're gonna have to come out to get you. Because you're not going in. We're not gonna let you in by yourself. You're not gonna just walk up in there and be like, hey.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Right.
So we're sitting there telling the dudes what's what. And we can see them, gathering themselves
posturing, yeah. They're like, yeah.
Raising their testosterone.
Right.
Amping themselves up. We gonna get in that section.
Yeah.
Fuck these dudes. We gonna get in that section. Okay, cool. No problem.
Yeah.
And
so it's just you and Jay.
Just me and Jay. But mind you, we got other guys all in the club.
Of course.
A whole bunch of other dudes that we got with him. Smitty, shout out to Smitty. He's out there.
Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of dudes out there. Right? So we used to wear sweatpants with Timberland boots.
Right.
So your regular sweats.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Timberland boots.
Yeah.
Right? So if we was about to fight, or if I seen it's about to go down, Jay would start tying up his Timberlands.
That was the cue.
That was the tying up the Timberlands and putting on your gloves. So that's how you knew it was about to.
It was going down.
It's about to go down.
It's reached that point.
It's reached that point.
Yeah.
Now this is years ago. This is almost 10 years ago.
Right.
So at the point where tying the Timberland boots. Okay, it's about to go down. Put on your gloves, right? Mm-hmm. Put on your gloves. The dudes don't even pay attention.
They don't see the signs.
They don't even see the signs. Yeah. They don't even see it's about to happen. Right. Just, boom, boom. Not only do I see him putting on his Timberlands, tying up the Timberlands, putting on his gloves, there's 5 other guys in the club working.
Yeah.
Not at regular security.
Right.
These are just our guys.
Exactly.
These are just horsemen in the club.
Just looking at the, okay. That's the signal.
He's tying up his shoes.
It's about to go down.
Putting his gloves on.
Yeah.
He's putting his gloves on.
Yeah.
Dudes are still riling. Nah, fuck that. We gonna fuck you up. Your mama, everything.
Yeah.
No response from us.
None.
Saying shit.
Just tying your shit.
The man put his gloves on. Mind you, this is my first time in DC.
Yeah.
I'm just out here this is what we doing?
Okay, this is what's happening?
Right up my alley. This is right up my alley.
Right.
Timberlands, I got all that. I'm ready. Right?
Yeah,
gloves, he gave me some gloves.
Yeah.
So, not saying a word. They just talking. I'm like, yo, man, I'm just waiting. This nigga about to, as soon as it pop off, as soon as it go. Mm-hmm. My man did the 1. They still talking. 2, 3. The moment he got to 4, these niggas took off on every dude in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Oh, just to 4.
Just to 4.
Just to 4. And I mean, we mopped every dude in the vicinity. Mopped them. Now, mind you, there's regular security. There's regular security who are still working.
Right.
They still working. They looking. They oh, shit. Turned their backs like in the movies. You know what I mean?
I don't see shit.
I don't see shit.
Yeah.
We must have dragged out every dude and threw him outside. And I remember saying to myself, this is every night. This isn't a one-off.
Right.
This is every night.
This is regular.
This is regular.
This is a regular
This is a regular thing at work.
Right.
This is what you went to work and did.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
During that period of time, whooping ass and fighting was like
Just
clocking
what
in.
you did. Yeah, exactly.
It was clocking in. That's
Yeah.
how you clocked in.
Yeah.
You don't lose a tooth, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But that was a night.
Yeah.
And that's how you started in this business. And what you ended up with is you ended up with clients who understood that. Right?
Yeah.
The badge of honor to a horseman is when a client feels like he can go anywhere.
Right.
When he feels like I can go anywhere with these dudes, give a fuck where it is. Hole in the wall club in the hood?
Right.
Let's go.
Right.
House party in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right.
Right? I can go anywhere with those. It's a badge of honor. Now, for a horseman, it's more pressure on you because that means you can end up in the worst spots ever.
Right.
So you better know what you're doing. You better have some skills.
Yes.
Now, the best thing for us is that being in that type of period, being in that type of era where you went to every nightclub,
Yeah.
you went to every after party, you went to every hole in the wall joint, you went to all these places, you built relationships with all the dudes in these places.
Right.
Right? So in every hood, you know somebody, right? In every, for lack of a better word, ghetto, you know somebody.
Right.
Right? So at every event, you know the people running it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
At every venue, you know who's doing the security.
That's so important.
Those
'Cause
relationships.
those are the generals.
Exactly.
Those are the ones that's going to be like, stand down.
Exactly.
Before it even gets to the,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's just a layer of it, man. It's 2021. In 2020 and years past, like I said before, this platform is about giving our flowers to some of the real ones who's been in the business. Some of the dudes I've worked with, some of the dudes we've lost. We lost Saeed in 2020, good dude I worked with. Before that, we lost Big Tony 2017. And somebody who was very close to me, which is Black Bo. Black Bo was with Ross, all I can remember. And he was the reason. I'll mention Ross, but you don't mention clients, but I'll mention Ross. Ross is my brother, and I got love for Ross. But Black Bo is something different, He taught me things that I would have never learned just being in the business normally. The street aspects of Miami, right? The street culture, stuff that I can't mention today, but, things that gave me a awareness that I would have never been able to see came from the eyes of Black Bo.
Right.
And we'll give a moment of silence.
For these
brothers.
Man.
Yeah, man. I mean, Black Bo was, man. I mean, the client is always in a world of his own, right? A client is always in the world of their own. They hire people to do, to take care of the administrative work.
Right.
Right. So, never take it personal. Never feel a certain way. Whenever you have to leave a client, don't leave a client, whatever the case may be, it's never about the client, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the times it's just business. And that's what you have to understand. This is a business.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And we're working in a business, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't be emotional and working in that camp, Fats, shout out to Fats, shout out to Jerry, another one of my brothers, excellent brother in the business. Been in it a long time. Him and his brother Ghost, go way back. Big dude, great dude. And, Black Bo was our liaison.
Right.
He was our liaison to the streets.
Right.
Right.
He received you.
Received us.
Yes,
right? Because I'm not from Miami.
Right.
Right. I don't know anything about Florida business, right? So here I am coming into an industry, or coming to a situation that my mentor put me in, and we don't have those kind of relationships out there.
Yeah.
Right. So we needed somebody to escort us through that world.
Right.
Escort us through those relationships and escort us through those connections. And Black Bo did that willingly. And he did that. He wouldn't do that for everybody now.
Right.
Now, if Black Bo didn't like you, you knew about it. Right. He told you flat out. He let you know. He will let you know. He'll let whoever needed to know he didn't like you.
Yeah.
So you had to earn that kind of respect from him. And I did that. And I made a point to do that. I made a point to earn his respect, not ask for it, not, come in. I've done this, I've done that.
Right.
Black Bo knew who I worked with before.
Right.
He knows my resume. He knows my background. But his thing was, are you deserving respect from a dude like me?
Right.
You might get respect in the industry.
Right.
You might get respect from, labels or whoever.
Yeah.
Execs. That don't mean shit to a dude like me. Are you honorable to a dude like me? And that was important for me to show him that I was honorable.
Right.
And for me to show him that I was deserving of his respect. And he gave it to me. And he was excellent about it. I mean, I've seen him walk into situations and walk out of situations without somebody of protection, right? So you're talking about a man who's worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, walking into situations with just Black Bo, no security,
right?
No security,
no backup,
just Black Bo.
Yeah.
And based on the reputation of Black Bo and based on the reputation of himself, both of them walk out untouched. Now that means something.
Absolutely.
It's got to mean something.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So I was honored. I was honored to learn. I was honored to, sit at that table with them and let them teach me what it means and how to navigate and how to be able to, not be so aggressive with everybody. Right? You can't be aggressive. There are times where that's needed and times when it's not.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
To know who's family, who's not family, who's loved ones, who's not loved ones. You got to be able to zone in on that. And that's probably one of the things that Bo taught me. He taught me how to pay attention and know when a client is embracing someone in love or embracing somebody with hesitation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To know whether somebody is business, whether somebody's family. Right? To be able to key in on that, right?
Yes.
Without being the dude that has to always be, no, fall back. Or the dude that's like, oh, nah, he's good.
Right.
Like you don't never want to be.
You don't want to be
too much
that
of
guy.
that. He's good. He's good guy. Right? You want to be able to instinctively know
notice that.
To know who's good and who's not.
Yes.
You don't want to be the guy that always has to get tapped to be like, nah, man, he's good. Right. Sometimes you just know there's no avoiding it. Sometimes there's no avoiding it.
Right.
But you want to be in tuned with who you're working with to know who's good and who's not. And that's how you know you've reached a certain point of respect in the camp and respect in the city. When you're working with people who are respected by entire communities, who are known by entire communities, and you walk into that community, sometimes that community will let you know you ain't shit. Right? And that community will let your client know that you ain't shit. So, you might be able to hide it to the labels.
Right.
Or you might be able to hide it to the management. But when that client walks into that community with you and you ain't shit, that community will let you know, hey, that motherfucker you got with you ain't shit.
Right.
Straight up.
Right.
Just let you know. We got love for you here.
Right.
But you take that motherfucker somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it might be a problem. Get rid of this dude. I've seen it happen time and time again.
Yes.
I've seen it happen time and time again. With the community would tell a motherfucker, hey, listen, get that motherfucker away from you.
Right.
'Cause he ain't shit.
Yeah.
Right? You don't never want to be that guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to know You want to know who the movers and shakers are. You want to know who the real G's are, and tap them for that knowledge and tap them for that insight. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care who you are in the industry. I don't care what you do in the industry. If it's in hip hop, Black Bo's name is respected. Right. So rest in peace to that brother.
Rest in peace.
And God bless him and everybody over there at MMG. Definitely.
It's a great story.
I mean, there's so many of them.
Right.
Big Tony, Harden, Travis Scott, and these men I'm mentioning are men of respect. So
right.
I don't have a problem saying their names, but Big Tony, huge, love that brother, and that brother was another one who's been in the game so long, who's built these relationships for so long that when he walked in with somebody, you knew, like, okay, he got somebody real with him.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's the idea. That's the idea, man. When somebody walks in with you, are others recognizing that you're worthy of respect?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are others saying, okay, he's serious about his protection? Because whether you think about it or not, or whether you think it's happening or not, that's what they're saying.
Right.
That's what they saying. Mm-hmm. They saying whether you got a sucker with you or whether you got somebody worthy of respect when you walk into a room.
Yes.
And they will treat you accordingly.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You walk backstage at summer jams when they used to have them, or you walk backstage at some of these concerts. You walk backstage at a fight, right? Mm-hmm. Back when the fights was the fight, and everybody was backstage, and everybody was in the dressing rooms, and everybody's backstage. You walk in there with somebody who ain't shit,
right?
and watch how you get treated.
Yeah.
Now, that's important. Those in the know. Those in the know. Those in the know have respect. Now, let me clarify something. You have to get to a certain level, humbly. You have to get to a certain level where you can pick and choose clients based on morals and values.
Right.
That is not going to happen for everybody. Mm-hmm. Right? I didn't start that way. I didn't start off being able to pick and choose who I was willing to work for. Mm-hmm. I worked for the code. I worked for the law, for the Horseman law. I worked for that law.
Yes.
So regardless of who I worked for or who they was, whether I liked them, whether I didn't like them, whether I respected them or didn't respect them, I did what I did.
The best
I could do
yes.
for the law.
Yes.
I'm at a point now where I can pick and choose. I only choose to work for honorable men. Right? That's the standard I've set.
Yes.
I'm only choosing to be willing to lay my life on the line and take life for men of honor. Right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody's going to get that. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. Right? So it's important that you have your own moral values and codes when you go out there and work.
It's real.
I'm not telling you to starve. I don't want nobody to starve trying to stick to a moral code or standard that they can't find a client that's willing to abide. So don't do that. Mm-hmm. Stick to your own moral code for yourself, though.
Yes.
Stick to your own moral code for our business and, the brotherhood, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than worry about disrespecting a client, don't disrespect yourself.
That's real.
You understand what I'm saying? Because the more you respect yourself, the more you respect the brotherhood, the more powerful the brotherhood will be, right? The more powerful Horseman will be. The more you respect yourself and the more you stand up for Horseman, the more you stand up for the four, the better you'll be in the world, and people will look at you that way. You understand what I'm saying? Shout out Cash XO. Shout out to the whole XO company. Honorable men. You understand? And what it means to be with honorable men is very important. Mm-hmm. loyalty and the standards of loyalty are with honorable men, right? And that goes for anybody in the business, whether you are a parking lot security, whether you work at a venue, whether you work at a club, whatever it is, your standard of excellence will, it'll reside. It'll speak for you.
Yes.
Before you have to speak for yourself, it'll speak for you. Your standard of excellence will speak for you. I can't tell you how many brothers I know started because they were honorable men in a nightclub. We've recruited tons of guys who come out of nightclubs.
Yes.
Right? Guys who have been, in the mud at some of the worst nightclubs you could think of.
Yeah.
Some of the worst strip clubs you could think of. These are guys who are honorable men in those places. And those are the men who stand out. And those are the men who stand out to us. And those are the men we recruit. So those of you who want to get into business, those of you who want to become bodyguards, you say, I get a lot of DMs on Horseman Fan. How can I be a horseman? Or how can I get in? How can I do this? How can I do that? Number one is be willing to learn.
Yes.
Be willing to learn the craft.
That's so important.
Right?
Yes.
Are you willing to learn the craft? Do you just want to be a bodyguard because you think, we get paid tons of money and
to hang out with celebrities,
right? You can hang out
all of the exclusive places
and groupies and the whole nine. If that's your reason, you'll never be a horseman.
Right.
If that's your reason for being a horseman, you'll never be one of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you want to be a horseman because you truly believe you have the skill and the talent to be one,
yes,
and the awareness to be one, we're willing to train.
Yes.
But what are you willing to sacrifice to learn? Right? Like I said before, when I started, I didn't get paid anything. I got paid gas money. Yeah. When I started, because I wanted to learn the business. I was not good enough when I started to charge for my services.
Right.
That is an important distinction. If you are not good enough to charge for services, you should not be charging for services.
Right.
The moment you charge for services and you're not good enough to do so, you take money out of men who are good enough to do so pocket.
That's such an important thing to say. And when you think about it, that is the basis of the honor, right? You're saying, actually, I'm paying you. So I'm not going to get paid because me not getting paid is assuring that you're going to get paid for learning whatever it is that I need to learn to actually get on.
Absolutely.
That's important. That's a good distinction. That's a good distinction, man.
And the problem we run into, especially in this business, is that if you water it down, it's not as strong, right? If you water it down, it's not as strong. So the reason why people like Charlemagne the God, and others can down black protection specialists, the reason why they can do that is because it's been watered down so much that they can get away with it.
Right.
Right?
I mean, and then there's diluted versions of anything.
Exactly.
If you're speaking of the knockoff brand as not being as potent, okay,
right.
Yeah, but yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and the reason why this platform is so important, and the reason why I wanted to do this platform, is because I know so many brothers who are so good at what they do, who are top tier guys, who can't get a livable wage because it's been watered down so much. Anytime a client can look at you and say, okay, well, hey, this guy worked for $100 a day.
Right.
So let me tell you something about horsemen. Horsemen are strict dieters. We train every day. Family men and mostly married men. So we all have families. There's not a man on this planet that can feed a family with $100 a day.
Right.
Right? There's not a man who should be willing to die and kill for $100 a day. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you have people who are willing to work for $100 a day, who are out here saying, "Hey, I get to hang out," those are not bodyguards. Those are not people who care about protecting your life as a client or protecting themselves. You see what I'm saying? Because one of the greatest drives of success to a horseman is getting home to his family. Must get home. There's not a scenario where I don't go home.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's
the reward.
That's the reward. Yeah. I must go home.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? My family don't make it without me. So me being home and me making it home is a must. So if that means I got to go through you to get there, I'm going through you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you have men who have no families, have no children, well, they're not taking care of their children. You got men who are just...
That's real.
Right? Men who aren't taking care of their children is just out here living the life, loving it, getting high, drinking, kicking it, whatever the case may be. They're not necessarily worried about you. Right? They're not necessarily worried about you.
Right.
As a client, you want somebody who's worried about you. As a client, you want somebody that's saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to make sure that dude is good because that dude take care of me." Right? There's about 4 or 5 men in my career out of at least 85 individual clients. There's about 4 or 5 men who I don't care what's going on. You can't do nothing to them without having to worry about me. You can't do nothing to them without having to worry about me, simply because those men made sure I take care of my family, right? Those men took care of my mentor who took care of me. And for that, you can't do nothing to them, regardless. Don't matter. If they called right now, I would shut the program down and be on the first thing smoking, right? That's what it means to be an honorable man working for honorable men. Right? And that's how important it is to be able to take care of your family doing this business.
Yes.
Right? As a client, if I'm worth millions and millions of dollars and I want to pay a guy to make sure I'm good, the last thing I want that guy to be worried about is taking care of his family. The last thing I want that guy to be worried about is paying a bill. You understand?
Yeah.
If your whole thing is my safety,
right? You want to free their
mind of all. I'm not worried about that.
Yes.
Right now, a real one, a man of honor, whether you live or die, a man of honor, a client, a man of honor is going to say, whether you live or die, your family is good.
Yeah.
Check the histories. Check the knights. Check the great pharaohs. Check the record. Bodyguarding has been alive and well in world history since the beginning of history. There has always been bodyguards, right? The most well taken care of people in any tribe, civilization, whatever you call it, were the people who protected power. That is a historic record. You can go back and check that.
Absolutely.
You can go back and look for it.
Right.
The most well taken care of people have been the people protecting the power.
I mean, it's arguably the roots of the military.
Beyond military.
Yeah.
Because if you go back far enough, you go back through these civilizations, there was always even today.
Yes.
There's secret service and then there's military.
Of course.
The military is not secret service.
Not at all.
Right?
Right.
2 separate entities.
Yes.
So even if you go back throughout, the people who protected the king are not military. The people who protected the queen is not the military. You know, the people who protected the pharaohs and the lords and everything else are not the military. These are people who are specifically responsible for power.
Right.
They protect the power. And those people are the most well taken care of people. Now, somehow we've created a culture where in hip hop that don't exist. It's a shame. Mm-hmm. Who are the most powerful people in the music industry? Who are the most powerful artists in music? They're hip hop artists. Hip hop is the most profitable genre of music
in the world.
In the world. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop artists speak to more people than the president. Right? They're able to reach more people than the president is. Mm-hmm. But yet and still, they're the least protected. Makes absolutely no sense. Mm-hmm. How many rappers did we lose in 2020? Right? Why? Because the culture has dictated that as an artist, you don't need to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. It's not cool to protect yourself.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. As an artist, somebody who's reaching millions and millions of people, making millions and millions of dollars, it's cool for you to go off unprotected. That's nonsensical.
It's nonsensical.
Right? Throughout history, the power is most protected. Right? What's the standard of power? How many people you can reach? How many people you can influence? Right? Mm-hmm. So when as an artist, if you can influence more people than the president, right, it makes sense that you be more protected than the president.
Right.
Right? It would make more sense. So the fact that we've lost so many rappers due to violence is, yes, it's a reflection of the culture. It's a reflection of the music. We know that. Mm-hmm. But it's also a reflection of the mindset that people in the industry have allowed themselves to victimize themselves.
Yes.
By saying, I don't need to protect myself.
I'm not worth protection.
I'm not worth protection.
Yeah.
It is a direct result of self-hatred.
Absolutely.
It's a direct result of self-hatred. Guilt. It's a direct result. Here I am worth millions and millions of dollars. Here I am making millions and millions of dollars, and my people from the hood ain't got no money. Mm-hmm. I feel guilty. Mm-hmm. Right? I feel bad about that. So let me put my life on the line. Right? Let me go out here and put myself on the line for my people, where the value you have to your people is staying alive.
Right.
Being able to influence, encourage. Right? We lost Nipsey Hussle. Why? He didn't have the man who was responsible for protecting him with him. Why didn't he? Right? Mm-hmm. He felt like it wasn't necessary to go through his own hood. It's more necessary for you.
In your own hood. Yeah.
It's more necessary for you.
Yes.
You are the power.
Yes.
So if nobody's protected, you should be at all times. Now, it's sad we lost that brother. That was a good brother.
Yes.
And what I want to do is change the narrative. You know, I'm not trying to change hip hop. I can't. Mm-hmm. That's not my world.
Right.
Not my responsibility. Like I said before, civilian, threat, potential client or client. That's all I see. Mm-hmm. That's not my world to try to change hip hop.
Right.
But it's important that as black men, we teach other black men that your life is precious.
Absolutely.
And you should protect it over all things.
Yes. Yes.
Over
You're
all
speaking
things.
to that self-hate.
Of course.
You're speaking to the self-hate.
It's necessary.
Yes.
Because you can't explain to me how somebody in the industry can spend as much money as they spend on jewelry, cars, the whole
all these bags of money going to the strip club and
all that. But you don't want to pay for protection. You don't want to train your guys. Mm-hmm. You don't want to school your guys up. You don't want to pay them livable wages, right? And then you end up in these situations. Mm-hmm. No, Pay your guys.
Right.
Get them the best people to train them. Right? Get them the people who are most knowledgeable. I don't have a problem with a guy coming into the industry and saying, you know what? I got a homeboy from the hood. I want him to come up with me. You know what I'm saying? Let me get somebody who can train him. Right? Bring him up with you.
Right.
Keep him with you.
But train him. Educate him.
Educate him.
Yes.
Let me get some horsemen. Let me call them. Hey, look, y'all come spend a weekend with my dude. Train him up. Give him some skills. I'll pay you guys to come out. I'll bring you guys out once a month. Whatever the case may be. Just to train him up so that he's good enough that he can protect me.
Yes.
Right? So I don't end up wasting all the power that I have.
Absolutely.
Out in the field, just not being knowledgeable. Right? Like, this is important. And I don't see it from anybody. And it's sad because those who are in the know and those who do know do so. Right? Those who don't. True. And we see what happens from that. And it's 2020. You know, how many rappers we lost? How many rappers got killed? How many rappers got murdered?
Too many.
Too many. No other genre of music, I don't care what it is, I don't care what time period, has ever seen that before. Right? It's never happened.
Right.
And no other genre of music, they lost so many artists to violence.
Continue to lose so many artists.
Continue.
Too. Yeah.
Continue.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Great points, man. Wow.
We've been rocking, man.
We've been rocking.
We've been rocking.
Straight.
We've been rocking straight. So
this is good, man.
Yeah. We'll be here next week, man. Next Sunday.
Absolutely.
God willing, and you know, if
I'm honored, man. I'm honored to sit here and, you know,
it's a blessing.
Pull it out of you.
It's a blessing.
Let you share it with these people, man.
It's a blessing, man. I hope it helps. I hope people can take some of the stuff we talked about tonight and apply it, and, you know.
They will. We're going to help with that.
Yeah.
I mean, even the educational platform, because you touched on so many things that I feel are, you know, kind of the building blocks of the castle for what Horseman can actually influence. Now, you can't change hip hop, but you can absolutely influence, one, the way that people look at protection. And, you know, you touched on something at the end, that notion of self-hatred, and transforming that self-hatred, especially for people who are successful and have some money and are coming up, transform that self-hatred into a notion of self-worth.
Right.
So absolutely. I think that is very, very important.
Absolutely. And I think that eventually we'll get there, man. Eventually we'll get there. I would like most of or a lot of these talking heads in media, before you say something about the industry and before you say something about the protection industry from a Black point of view, talk to us. Talk to us. Before you choose to promote false ideas about what's classified as good protection or bad protection, talk to us.
Absolutely.
Talk to us.
At the very least, your authorities on that topic.
Talk to us.
For sure.
Talk to us. I'm tired of seeing every time something happens to a Black artist, white people get promoted as the ideal of protection. I'm tired of seeing it. Nothing against, like I said before, white people in this industry or white people in our industry working. But ask them who trained them. Ask them who schooled them. Ask them who gave them the skills to be able to work in this industry, and ask them where they got their knowledge from.
Particularly hip hop, sports, and entertainment.
Particularly hip hop, sports, and entertainment. I can only speak from that. That's my expertise. So I can only speak on behalf of sports, hip hop, and entertainment. And even in that, I can only speak on behalf of my mentor. I can't speak as a person that knows all. I can't do that. I can only go based on the information and knowledge that was given to me. And based on that knowledge that was given to me, I'm saying talk to us.
Right.
Right. I'm saying talk to us based on the knowledge given to me. Right. So before you go off and promote the idea that in order to be really protected, you need a white guy in a suit, talk to us and we'll tell you exactly what your protection should look like and what the best protection looks like based on our record, based on our resume, based on our numbers, right? Based on the BBC Club, Billionaire Bodyguards Club, those who have protected an accumulated amount of wealth beyond $1 billion, right? Show me respectfully how many white men in suits have protected beyond $1 billion worth. You know what I'm saying?
In hip hop,
sports and entertainment.
Right.
Show me somebody who's done that. Show me a white man in a suit that's done that, and then I'll fall back.
Right.
But until that happens, when you speak of hip hop, sports, and entertainment, there are only a handful of people you could talk to, and one organization beyond all others, and that's Horseman. So we're gonna close out this program, and like I do with every program, open and close, I'll say, all due honor to the Most High. I worship thee through the divine image of my wives. Amen, and good night.